Well, since you asked, one of my favorite parts of Life and Death, Gender Bent Twilight, and actually the thing is that Gender Bent Rosalie is actually the most disappointing of the gender bent characters in Life and Death. Royal Hale, not just the name, because that's a crazy name to pick for Gender Bent Rosalie. Boy Rosalie is disappointing as a character because the entire backstory was changed to accommodate gender roles, which I always say is the whole problem with the book. It's not the book itself, because I actually am a Life and Death stan. I became a Life and Death stan last year after dragging it for a whole decade prior, but the whole point of this book, allegedly according to Stephanie, was to prove that Twilight wasn't misogynistic and it would be exactly the same if the genders were switched, and then it did the exact opposite of that. And of course, Royal doesn't suffer the same fate as Rosalie. He's just attacked by a mob boss. But what was really annoying is that Royal isn't like interested particularly in having children the same way that Rosalie was, and that was so central to her storyline and her characterization. I feel like that would have been really easy to do because they kind of did it with gender bent Esme. But none of that is the point. The point is that what is really great about Boy Rosalie is Boy Bella's description of him and how he describes Royal throughout. Because you know how we were just talking about how Edward describes Siobhan and he says that she's aggressively, forcefully female, and he gets a nosebleed just trying to say that she's sexy, he has a crush on her, and he finds her attractive. So that is what Beau, my Shayla, does with Royal, and he references it a few times because, you know, Royal's beauty is very captivating. He just has to express his feelings about it, which does track because Bella does this with Rosalie, but it has a little razzle dazzle. So Boy Rosalie has a man bun, and Beau wants to make it very clear to us that it is very masculine. So this is Beau's first description of Royal. He says the two guys were opposites. The taller one, who was definitely taller than me, I'd guess 6'5" or even more, was clearly the school's star athlete and the prom king, and the guy who always had dibs on whatever equipment he wanted in the weight room. His straight golden hair was wound into a bun on the back of his head, but there was nothing feminine about it. Somehow it made him look even more like a man. He was clearly too cool for this school, or any other I could imagine. You've heard of aggressively, forcefully female, I raise you, hyper-masculine man bun. You also get, because you know how Bella was jealous of Rosalie, because you know how Carlisle intended Rosalie to kind of be like a mate for Edward potentially, or in this case Corinne, Lady Carlisle, intended Royal and Edith to get something going. So we get Beau talking about how, oh, I could never compete with that godly man bun wearing male model, right? But one of my favorite things is he's talking about how all the Cullens are so hauntingly beautiful, and he's like, well, I mean, I think Edith is the most beautiful, but I think the girls in the school would probably say that male model guy Royal with that manly virile bun. So like, I'm team Beau and Julie. Like, I wanted Life and Death to go differently, and I wanted Beau to have a werewolf girlfriend. Like, I wanted boy Bella and girl Jacob, because like, of course I do, I'm obsessed, but I do think Beau and Royal might have been a fun